Hey, my name is Priyank. Today we're gonna go over some of the strategy that the Bitcoin chart, looking at some of the mathematical charts that gives me some kind of insights that what's gonna do and what's gonna happen, and that we divide into some of the different other charts to get to the more certain direction what we're gonna do when things are gonna happening over the period of time. So first thing we look at is the rainbow chart. Many prediction chart we can use, but some of that I'm just sharing here. Doesn't mean that this is how we're gonna go or this is how we're gonna follow, but some of the things that I have looked at and some of the data point that I'm looking at. So the first thing is rainbow chart. Whenever it's in a blue zone, consider is a good buy. Whenever you see it's in an orange or the red zone, you consider selling it or taking profit. The second data point that we're gonna look at is the halving chart. So basically Bitcoin have every 4-year cycle when they cut the reward, how much Bitcoin they're gonna give to the miner. If you know, you know. If you don't, you have a multiple source available on YouTube. You can look at it. I started making the library on this channel. You can go into the playlist and you're gonna find a lot of resources. So come back to the halving chart. This is basically we're gonna consider as a 135, 40 weeks and 80 weeks chart. It's a halving chart. I'm gonna explain to you more into detail. But let me go back to the third point that we are looking when we making a decision what to do. So the third thing we are looking at is the fear and greed index. This is basically gives you some kind of mathematical way to know that market is greedy or market is fearful. We can use somebody else's wisdom. Warren Buffett already said about it. When market is greedy, you should be fearful, and when market is fearful, you should be greedy about it. Things are on a sale, you're not gonna hesitate to buy it, right? You know that certain things are on a certain price. When you see it, those things are 50% discount, you're not gonna hesitate to buy. When you talk about the fear index, say 25 and below, that means it's the fire sale. When it says the extreme greed or a greed, that means this has started selling on overpriced. Okay, so this is the simple. So we're gonna look at 3 data point. One is rainbow chart, the second is halving chart, and third thing is our fear and greed index chart. Okay, so this is our guiding line, the halving chart that I'm gonna show you on the trading view, gonna get us some sort of understanding what to do. But before we do that, the power of rainbow chart needs to be discussed. Why? Because it has tremendous amount of prediction happen in the past. When 2012, you're talking about the first halving that everybody's seen, it was like $10, $12 Bitcoin, and it reaches to $1,200. And if you can go here and see the mathematical timeline, it was $12 and it was predicted it will go around 1300, 1200 range, and it actually go there. The same way, the second time in the 16, when the price was 650 and it reaches to 19,000. The same way we seen consistently happening is like 2020 when the price was 8,700 and we seen that reaches to 68,000, and we have seen somewhere around it was prediction 6,800, 738. So we just consider more like a round figure is like 68,000. So this is the pattern we have consistently see on a rainbow chart happening, and this is show how we can capitalize on it. When you think about it, the $12 to 1,200, that's like 10,000% of gain. I said the first thing I'm gonna show you when to enter, when to exit if you want to take a profit, and what to do. You don't have to ask anybody. Once you learn it, you cannot unlearn. Once you do start using the tool, you cannot think about any other way. So let's coming back to what I'm talking about. 135 week, 40 weeks and 80 weeks is, let's say we have a halving cycle. Before that we had a 2020 halving cycle. So whatever the date was the previous halving, to that we consider 135 week. So give you the prospect is like whenever in the May 11, 2020 halving happened, from there you count 135 week. Okay, so that's the time you start buying into the position, or you can say start investing into Bitcoin. So like I said, you always find 135 week is kind of optimal point of entry to get into the long position. So here's the second part comes in. Once you are on 135 weeks and onwards the halving, and from halving 40 weeks and 80 weeks is your timeline when you only look for the long position. Long position, that means you gonna think about buying. And I'm gonna come to the third point, what to find when is the best price to enter. I'll show it to you, that's the part also. But just come back to 135 week is we seen that 135 week happened in around December 2022, right? And that was the time when Bitcoin was 16,000. And let's say from 16,000 you can literally see from there it's almost like 440%. So almost like you gain in 700 days some sort of close to 500%, and you added the trade margin. This is like the heaven. You can do this rinse and repeat every time. You're gonna see this pattern every single time when you start looking at the data. Coming back to the point, let's say we missed the 2022. Whenever you see extreme fear, that's the point you're gonna start looking into open the position, right? So that happened to be in the August 4 or 5. That's the time it was almost, you can see on here 17. Fear and greed index show the extreme fear on August time. And as you can see in the August, it was almost reaches to 49,000. The same thing happened in September, which is recent time. In 7 it was like below 25, and as you can see this is almost reaches to 52,000. The same way, whenever you see extreme fear happening, and we are still in the cycle from 135 week to halving to 40 weeks and 80 weeks, like I said, only things we're gonna do is look for the enter to the long position or look for to buy. And now you're gonna say like, okay, I got the part that 135 week, halving, 40 weeks and 80 weeks, all I'm gonna do is gonna look for the long position. What I'm gonna do after 80 weeks? So as you can see, after 80 weeks, it's seen that it always fall back to somewhere around range from 60 to 70% down. That time you can take the short trade if you know how to do it. But the optimal time we have seen consistently that happening from the halving, you can always calculate 135 week, put the reminder on your phone and say that day you're gonna buy a Bitcoin. Either you do it for investment or you do it to start opening a long trade. And let's sum it up something in all together what we are talking about. Use the rainbow chart to see when to buy in the blue zone and red zone. That's the first place we're gonna go. Then monitor what is the halving cycle we are in. The third thing we're gonna refer is extreme fear and extreme greed. And the last thing we're gonna look at some of the things like, let's say you got into extreme fear and we are sitting in the halving cycle, right? We are somewhere around in reaches to 40 weeks. So what we're gonna do? What all we're gonna do is now wait for extreme fear happen, and we're gonna go to the normal chart to look at where is our demand zone. Demand zone means that's where everybody wanna buy and it's a good price to buy. So right now the demand zone, it shows like 5,800 or 5,200, 52,500. Those are the area where everybody looking at buy. And like I said last time in August, September time, when it shows the extreme fear. And to prove this theory that I'm talking about, what I have done is literally had my demo account open, look at the chart, looking at where is the demand zone, and like you earlier seen, it's like around 52,000 to 53,000, and I put in limit order saying that, hey, buy me a certain Bitcoin at this price range, looking at 10x leverage. we have opened that particular trade, and you can see it. We have opened around September time, and this trade doing good. I mean, we not like surprised doing it, but it's almost up 600%, which is it's 60% up, and you add in leverage, which is 10x. So that's the reason it says 600%. But the same way you can use leverage in basic sense. You can call a lifetime investment strategy or a trading strategy, and the same thing can be replicated to other altcoin. You can look at the same chart with the different altcoin or different coin, and you're gonna see the same pattern. If you see it, you can trade with them too. But I'm only trading right now a Bitcoin, and this is something I wanted to share out. Hopefully this is something help you. If you like it what I'm sharing, please do comment about it. Anything that I can share more about it, any clarification you need of it, please do let me know. I try to put all the resources that I'm using, all the chart that I'm using, I'm gonna share. Thank you so much.